5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Team ban. Dire team ban.
Some technical issues. Slacks actually stole the headsets. He was running around. He didn't give them back to T1. Was even tweeting about Thought to divert attention. Awful man, really. But we're finally here. We're ready for the draft. And now we can talk about Thought. So, Thought, I'm going to ask you first. What can we expect here from Alliance?
Well, step one, I was hoping that T1 would take out that Tidehunter. I think that's also a really good option if Alliance was able to get it. I think other hero that if we're looking at is probably the Lina is the other, of course, one the panel was talking about, at least for Alliance. Heavy contested hero between the two of them. And then we'll trickle down to our, our Snapfires, their Disruptors, big team fight heroes, depending on what they're playing against. And of course, Alliance might have to be thinking right now is, do we want to ban the Doom? Do we move it up in priority? Do we look for IO? Because they had a couple struggle games on it too. So let's see what it's going to be.
I think we should expect a Magnus pick too, just because of his performance yesterday was absurdly good. He did well in groups, but after what we saw yesterday, I think this should be a hero to look for, and there it is.
Yeah, priority shifted for sure after the yesterday series.
And for T1, whenever we watch them play, they just seem like you give them a comfort pick and they will outplay you. That's the name of the game most of the time. Jenkins always says that this team will pick the greediest draft and still fight you. And they would go 3 Midas and still fight you because they just know that they can perform the team fights better. So, Effie, could we expect more of these team fighting heroes to go with the Magnus, or we maybe see the Doom that Carl's been running around a lot?
I think it just really depends on what Alliance are looking to play here, but the reason why we expected Magnus to come out is because, number one, he does enable his greedy cores, but two, in the past, Magnus used to just be played around RP, right? And that's what people saw him as. But this new style of just Horn Toss Skewer back as a form of initiation is absurdly good. You can play without the cooldown of RP. And in the right hands, Magnus can just check a lot of bases, and those are just ensuring that your net worth is always up and just always having the ability to initiate or counter-initiate, right? So it's incredibly valuable, especially in the hands of T1 or Alliance, by the way. S4 plays a great Magnus, so I'm a bit surprised that they didn't actually consider it here, Fogged.
Yeah. I'm surprised with their opener, actually, the 2 supports just like this. Maybe they're really expecting one of those like spirits that are really pesky and they don't want Lion to be banned out. They want to have that hard disable for it, but I know Snapfire's been super contested, but really interesting to see them just open up with that, because now it's your supports are not going to be frontliners. Initiation will be a little bit harder, and T1's going to be like just snaps picks Lina. So that feels like, I look at T1s and it just ticks more boxes in the draft overall.
100%, and I think of all of the mid heroes that you want to first phase, you should be looking at the Lina, because she doesn't have any bad lane matchups. She scales into the late game, she shoves waves, and can play with only 2 items, which are BOTs and BKB, and obviously built into Silver Edge, which is the DPS item of the patch. Perhaps the reasoning behind Lion is that they know that T1 do like to play heroes like Puck that are slippery and just securing it early in the draft, make sure it doesn't get banned out later. Another idea behind it could be that if they are taking a fight on Vision and they have Vision of this Magnus, Lion can pre-cast the Hex, and when he links in, he'll be instantly hexed, right? So that could have been what they were looking at here.
I also saw Lion yesterday. 2 times we saw teams pick like illusion heroes into the Lion, or pick like these elusive heroes into the Lion, and we're like, wow, Lion looks really good now. And we saw the mana drain like own throughout the game. He's just getting super farmed and taking out either the TB illusions or it was, I can't remember what the other one was, but either Spectre was the other one. So.
Yeah, that's typically how it works, and Lion was forgotten for a really long time, up until Puck was the mid-hero of the patch 8 months ago, and it made Lion rise to popularity, right? Storm as well, and Storm has been an incredible hero throughout this tournament, I would say. I doubt we'll be seeing it come out of Alliance. It's not a limp hero, but it is pretty nice here. Like, I look at these two heroes, and I would like to see a strong.
Yeah, I want something that Alliance can start the fight with that starts the fight with the Lion, that you can jump in and follow up, and something else that the Lion's going to take some time, right, to get that Blink Dagger. So I want something that's just going to naturally be able to go in and start the fight, which could be that mid hero. But it's going to be limited because I did get to see I got to actually cast the T1 versus Alliance in the group stages too, and they put Limp in a bad matchup because he needed to be that kind of catch and jump in, and he never got to play the game. It was a 20-minute stomp. They got Necrophos mid. He was Ember. He was trying to be the one that like lead in pre-blink daggers on his other cores, and the game never even got off the bat for them. So
I expect S4 to fill that role we were talking about of jumping in with the Lion, but I can't really think of any high damage offlaners at the moment. But that's the nice synergy of having a Snapfire as well. You can go into the Lion and you can just throw the Mortimers from the distance. Something that I get reminded of when I look at things like this is they actually. Oh, they do ban out the Void. That's unfortunate because they did try this style of having Nico maybe just play Void, be the initiator, and putting Limp on something long range like a Sniper. And Sniper can be very good here actually because he outranges Lina and it forces her to buy a Blink Dagger.
They did lose with the Sniper versus T1 in the group stage too, right? They picked it versus the Razor to try to counteract it, and Limp got ran down by an ET the entire game with Zephyr chasing him. So I mean, it's definitely a good pick here. Just like that might be like this bad memory inside of Limp's mind where he's like, maybe give me something else there. So we're seeing very team-specific bans coming out, and it is going to be the Ember. So I felt like this was going to be forced, but now it's like into this matchup versus the Lina. I'm a little worried already off the bat from Limp. Because I saw this the other day. I saw this in the group stages. It was a worse matchup versus Necrophos, but is it maybe? Maybe Lina's even worse. Sure, in the mid game you can do something about it because Lina's squishy, but
depending on how you choose to scale your abilities, you can always just go for Flame Guard and just farm camps in between. But Ember does get severely bullied by Lina in lane, but he is going to be good at dodging her abilities, and of course dodging Magnus's abilities. If you have a remnant out, you can just react faster than he casts the spells.
What can we be seeing in the 3 position? Because they also talk about DK for S4, so very successful hero against Beast Ghost. You were talking about needing someone that can be that frontliner. What are options left in the offlane?
They've traditionally liked something like a Beastmaster, something that can actually give them some natural push in the lineup. Because when you already have a mid Ember, sure you're going to be able to fight in battle, but now your lineup is already really crippled on pushing. So that's something they really do like, something with some reach. But into Bane, that can be a little bit more complicated.
I like the idea of Mars with the Snapfire. It seems like a very strong lane, obviously with the minus armor and the physical damage from the boot. Also can give them the Mars Arena plus Mortimer's combo, which is has been quite successful historically.
It's also a good Hunter combo with the Lion. You're asking for a high damage offlaner. Mars does bring the tip table, so yeah. It is a high execution hero, however, which might be difficult when you're in the lower brackets. Perhaps the first game is the game where you try that out.
And out comes Dawnbreaker, so I'm really glad that this hero has had her main stage moments, right? Because when we were watching groups, there was maybe 2 or 3 Dawnbreaker games played by exclusively VP, and everyone was just like, oh, she got nerfed, she's not a great support. She doesn't have to be.
The two big ones actually are the last two picks from T1. The 2 heroes I thought were going to be amazing in the group stages, and people were like, yeah, let's not pick Bane too much. And then we come to main event and it's like, boom, Bane every game or Bane every other game. Same thing for Dawn. I like that pick. I think also that might dissuade them from going for something like Mars too.
Exactly.
Because then like the Mars ult comes down, Dawnbreaker is going to be able to set up and counter initiate heavily. So maybe that might put a little bit more fear into Alliance to just look for head-on team fights, because right now it's looking a little hard for them too.
For sure, and to add on to that, this concept that they have going with this Lion and Ember is basically get in, kill a target quickly, and get out. And by having the Dawnbreaker, you can negate that. Also, Bane is quite good at killing the Ember. They do have the catch frame.
The fun T1 poke is, I know what, it was Curtis who likes to always say, now they have like a sleep into a skewer, they have like this really fun little combo, lots of poke as well coming out from Dragon Slave, they have Shockwave, so they're always gonna have good ways to just spam, take fights.
What's the logic behind the Morphling here?
It's a pretty good Morphling game. There aren't really... There's the Bane who could catch him out and kill him. That is a threat there, but in the Dawnbreaker, Lina, and Magnus, you can preemptively cast your Strength More fight, and scales better than these heroes, including the Lina. It's just that I I don't feel like he's going to have the space, honestly.
It feels greedy.
Yeah.
With the two supports as well, like they're kind of weaker supports. I feel like his lane could be a bit hard, and in the past also people used to really like Lina versus Morphling also. Like sure, it's a little bit different, times have changed where it's just right-clicking Lina, but it's still kind of same concept. Like if you catch Morph in a bad situation, boom, Laguna Blade plus a double nuke, he's probably just going to die if he's out of position.
And the thing about that is you don't want to go in first with your Morphling because you could get gripped or LSA'd from Fog, right? But your Ember doesn't want to go first either because the same thing could happen to him. So they actually do have a lack of a strong, durable front laner because neither Ember nor Morphling can fill that role for each other unless there's some kind of snowball start on the Ember.
What's the S4 hero even left, right? Shaker's gone, DK's gone, Tide's gone. It's like Beastmaster's one of the few left, but...
They've done Legion before against the Bane. We've seen how that's worked out.
Yeah.
It's a really tough matchup, especially if you have to go be the one initiating, because you just get nightmared and that's over.
It could just be the Mars here. It doesn't.
Oh, well, there's no Mars anymore.
Yeah.
We're out of heroes. Ooh.
Limited.
Is Centaur a possibility here? Can we run that as the tanky initiator, even if he's not the most consistent stun?
I just haven't seen Centaur at all. I don't know if the hero's very good anymore.
I don't think he's good enough here, especially with the way people have been playing Lina, just building a Satanic. She absolutely shreds them, and there's no concern of dying, right? It's just weird to me that they picked this Morphling over the S4 hero in their last phase, because I don't think it would have been banned out here because it doesn't look like the greatest of Morphling games. Like he does fine versus all of these heroes individually, right? He can scale. There's no kind of instant stun, but like you said, he can die from Fog. He can just get burst down if he makes one mistake.
And now they had a bunch of time to really think about what that last pick is for Savage. Just like, okay, do you want to play like a PL or something? I mean, there's an Ember, so maybe not the PL, but he can just think about his specific matchup, what he wants to play versus that Morphling. And he has a Bane, so super strong lane that he's going to have. He's going to be able to farm really well. He's not going to be pressured too much.
It's also a Savage emblematic hero, the Morphling, so he knows exactly what he hates playing against.
Exactly.
So it's a tough thing to give him time on. And Mira's completely right. If you're picking, when you have the last two picks, you have to consider what can your enemy ban in these last two bans, which is why many times you just pick the hero that you think might get banned or the position you think might get banned. And now S4 without options. I mean, I guess, the Wraith King is going to be the option. Okay.
Ooh.
How do you think of that matchup against Morphling?
So they do want to play a higher tempo game, and Wraith King does hit his timings quite early, especially if he chooses to go for some kind of armlet build, right?
Yep.
They don't want to give Morphling space to farm, but the carry matchup of Morphling to Wraith King, like Morphling destroys Wraith King, I would say. And
Especially with stats build.
it has to just be high tempo, run them over, because you look at Alliance's draft, there's not really any high cooldowns that you're afraid of. There's a mana burn from Lion, there's Chains, Ember can just keep you there. So I'm guessing they just want to steamroll them after hitting a timing.
So they need something fast. I mean, Timber is a good option. I know Brian was like screaming it over there on the left versus like the Wraith King and all that. It's not bad. It is an S4 hero, and there's just not really much left. He's gonna go for his Sanking. I feel like these lanes look super weak from Alliance. I'm worried. I've seen the Sanking struggle almost every game I've seen it played lately.
So the strength of the Sanking here is the defensive ability, right?
Yes.
He's really good at defending towers, really good just setting up Sandstorm. Hard to push the safe lane tier 1 with that, theoretically.
I would agree, and if we're gonna go on this 20-minute timing that T1 want to play for, then Sand King is one of the better heroes you can pick here, but it's pretty much because there is nothing left. However, there is the ability to stun or counter initiate, which is always going to be nice. It's just that I don't think this Sand King is going to be the one to go in first. Something Alliance do have going for their Morphling, though, is there's a lack of a natural vessel buyer on T1.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we saw the Dawnbreaker go for it. There isn't Feeble, which can be frustrating in later stages, but early on we've seen, most people aren't really skilling it. So I think if Alliance, if they can play fast-paced, if they don't get smashed in their lanes, they do have a good way to fight back, because I do think T1's is a bit greedy for them to actually just it's going to take some time for them to build up this Wraith King, as we've seen. That hero's gotten nerfed several times. So Alliance, I mean, I have to just stare at lanes. Like first 10 minutes, I have to see if S4 has a decent time on this Sand King, because I've seen so many games lately as Sand King where this hero just doesn't get to play. Like it dies like 4 or 5 times in laning phase, and then you're just a single blink stun.
But there's also this potential of Alliance playing the tempo game too, depending on how lanes go, right? Because if Sand King does get the early blink and Morphling doesn't get severely pressured, he does do well individually versus these heroes, right?
Right.
And we've seen Nico maybe group up with his team early and pressure towers and not just sit back and farm triangles. That's not really his style of carry.
And you were asking earlier for a high damage offlaner. Sanking does bring that to the table. You have a decent hunting squad with the Lion and the Snapfire as well. It's really just the lanes, it seems like to me, for Alliance. That's the biggest worry.
That's really my biggest concern. If they can make it out of the lanes and if they're even, I think they can actually do a pretty good job of fighting back. As long as they just avoid team fights, be very aware of Dawnbreaker. You know, there's a hero that not everybody's really playing so much, so just be really aware of that global potential.
Well, let's see if T1's coach March agrees with this analysis, and he also thinks that they can take them over. As we go down to Sir Action Selects, who's going to ask him some questions.
Помогите, 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 помогите,
Prepare for
помогите.
battle.
I'll use my weak computing allies where I can.
Thank you, Sir Action Slacks. Alliance versus T1. Sunspan with Cinderin, best of 3. And this is for elimination,
30 seconds to
Cinderin.
battle.
Whoever loses this is out. Winner moves on a little bit further at TI-10.
Into top 8. So
Yes.
obviously, starting in that upper bracket, which T1 did, is the blessing. You skip one round of the lower bracket, but we've seen many times at TI teams looking hot going into the upper bracket. They lose their first set, they drop down, lose again, and that is a fate you really don't want to face. When you feel like you came in a good position, you can get knocked out almost just as quickly if things go awry. So, looking to take this series against Alliance, of course, I think fair to say based on how groups went and how the upper bracket went for T1 against LGD, taking at least a game against the Juggernauts. T1 probably fair to assess them as the overall favorites in this matchup. But Alliance have been picking up a little bit of momentum, obviously going off that win yesterday, and you heard in the pregame the discussion about how, as far as said, they've learned a lot from the group stage, and Alliance is one of those teams that can, how to say, they can pick up some momentum, they can learn from their mistakes, and obviously it is a tough matchup today, but
You think, I mean, when you're playing group stage, not everybody's really scouting each other as closely because you're playing a ton of games and a ton of teams at the same time. But when it gets to this stage, there's a lot of prep that goes in for this specific team. Alliance has a little bit more time to work with, I would say, but T1 obviously coming from upper bracket. They're obviously disappointed that they lost that best of 3, but should be an exciting matchup nonetheless. And of course, Alliance is, I mean, they were the top EU team overall because of, what was it, #1 in each DPC season, like going into the major.
yeah, unfortunately for Alliance, their showings at the actual majors weren't what they had hoped. Just basically just bombed out both times. So obviously for them, they have a lot to prove here. And yeah, the whole thing about prep I think is pretty important. If you do talk about Dota with S4, he's a very intelligent player. The way he thinks about the game, I think he's a huge part of why Alliance won back at TI3. Just this overall understanding of macro movements in the game. Yeah. Alliance were outstanding in that tournament. It's obviously many years ago, but they kind of, I wouldn't say they pioneered split pushing because that was a concept that was known from back in Dota 1.
They perfected
but
it.
they mastered it at that event, and they did such a great job just playing the map at a different level from other teams that eventually they got caught up to, and then they started losing in subsequent tournaments after TI, but I think S4 really a clever player. So hopefully the prep that he has done going into this will show. But so far so good for T1 in the lanes, I would say. Carl in the mid lane, Lina against Ember. You know, this reminds me of a game we had yesterday. Was it Emo who played Ember against Shadow Fiend from Team Spirit? That was 2 days ago by now. Time flies when you're having fun. But it was the IG versus Team Spirit series in the upper bracket, where Emo got a last pick Ember into a known Shadow Fiend. Yeah. So picked it into a losing lane, but they assessed that it was still worth it for its overall potential impact on the game, and they did end up winning that game, obviously. Limp in a similar situation here. Lina's a tough matchup. You're not going to win this lane ever if the players are equally matched. And I think Carl against Limp is a pretty fair lane matchup overall in terms of just raw lane mechanical skill. So I would imagine Carl will be pulling ahead here.
Yep. I mean, relatively even to start things out, but of course it is early, like you said. They're going to get each respective water rune. Nico Baby this time around will be playing the Morphling in this bot lane, and we can talk a bit about Dawnbreaker, who gets canceled there. FNG Shockwave brings him back in, and Zephyr secures the first blood with that last right click.
When you're playing these squishy 5s against Dawnbreaker, you need to be quick on your fingers. You need to be ready for that play to come. As soon as the Celestial Hammer goes out, you have to stun her. Hanskin hesitated for too long there, or sorry, FNG, not Hanskin. Let's focus on the right player here. Hesitated for too long with that Earth Spike and ended up taking 2 attacks from the Starbreaker. Yeah. That needs to get stopped instantly. As soon as the hammer gets thrown, you have to stun, and gets punished there, and Zephyr manages to get first blood. Very good for the Dawnbreaker. We'll be getting boots as a reward. This hero is exceptionally good at chasing down heroes because it's just so strong in lane. So with these freshly picked up boots, look for Zephyr to just go aggressive.
He's going to take some damage here, but we've talked about the Dawnbreaker support in the past, and some lineups feel a little iffy, as it were, especially as a support. Obviously, she's going to be very good in the laning stage, as we're seeing right now, but this game in particular, there are a lot of stuns that set up her ultimate for the later stage of the game. You have the Nightmare, you have the Fiend's Grip, obviously, LSA is pretty low cooldown, Wraith, Fire Blast as well, and then the huge RP. So literally every hero can theoretically set up a Solar Guardian, which, I mean, I think you and I agree is probably the most important aspect of that hero going mid-game and beyond.
Absolutely. Oh,
top lane, Whitemon going to get caught out, takes considerable amount of damage, but will live through it. Nightmare into the Wraith Fire Blast now is 23 Savage, blocking S4. He will be able to walk away as those little skelly buddies are chasing him.
The boys, as we call them.
The boys. I think that's copyrighted by a TV show, Simran.
Oh.
Can't say that.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're not watching that. There's probably not that much overlap between the writers of that TV show and TI, but you never know.
You never know.
You get surprised sometimes with where people's interests lie. So,
especially you.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
Because you have no interest. That was the joke. Zephyr makes his way to the top lane. Wraith Fire Blast into the Starbreaker. But Burrow Strike is there in time for S4. But he's going to take so much damage from that hammer.
I think one saving grace for Alliance here against the Dawnbreaker ult, like we talked about. Yes, you have a lot of good combos with it, but it's not a good Ags game at the very least. There's no hero on Alliance that really suffers against that 60% evasion. Morphling a lot of the time can, you know, go for more of a magic-based build with the E-Blade. And I think waveform, attack talent, and all this stuff that comes way later in the game, I think can't miss, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually not 100% on that. Good waveform bottom. Aggressive play onto
Looks
Cuckoo.
like Cuckoo might take a tumble here. Has his skewer available, but is just completely stun locked by Alliance, who get their first kill of the game and this series.
Yeah, they can easily take advantage of that. With the Dawnbreaker rotation top, they know they're 2v1. Lion, one of the best supports in the game, 2v1. Not that good 2v2, especially as a 5, but whenever you outnumber, you just have so much lockdown for your carry to just go to town. And they do kill Cuckoo's mag. So he has still managed to almost find level 5 down here, so I don't think Cuckoo is too concerned. The game plan is coming along nicely. Lina and Wraith King are having total free games, basically. So not the biggest of deals, but obviously Alliance will take what they can get in these lanes.
Now Whitemon not able to secure the rune. Limp will still get that invisibility. As looking at the overall CS here, let me bring it up real quick. Wraith King sitting at 38 and 10 versus the 33 and 8 of the Morphling, so relatively even. Of course, 23 Savage will eventually go into the jungle. This is the thing I like about Wraith King as a position 1. It kind of creates space for some, like a position 4 like Dawnbreaker, theoretically, to get some farm once he enters that jungle. Yeah. Semi-full time, if that's even a word. We'll just go it.
That's called part-time.
Part-time job as S4 gets the Burrow Strike off. Whitemon taking some damage, but the Cookie ends up saving S4 for about 2 seconds. But Zephyr is there to clean up yet again. Seems to be everywhere, and he doesn't even have his ult yet.
No, he has a lot of freedom to move. Cuckoo is doing such a good job playing alone down here. He's almost level 6, so you don't even feel bad about this if you're Zephyr. Might even end up killing Hanskin here if Limp doesn't come over to help.
He's going for it. Limp
he has the hammer.
And not going to pursue any further. Cuckoo getting some mana drained here. Has to skewer out to safety. That means he's completely depleted.
Surely Zephyr doesn't do this, right? Okay. It almost looked like he was going to try to dive him in the face.
At 7 minutes. Yeah.
Learned from Cuckoo from yesterday. Just go for it, and then if you fail, you just write, we need wards. So
that's true.
He did have a ward.
That is the play. Earth Spike into the waveform. Cuckoo looks to be done again. So 2 kills in this lane for Alliance. Nico Baby and company starting to get back into this game, which, I mean, it's not like it's out of reach by any means, but T1 definitely off to a slightly better start right now.
And Nico claiming that is very, very good for his economy. 250 extra gold here, getting the treads flown out now. Very curious to see what build he goes for, right? Because as the draft panel pointed out, there are some aspects of this game that can be dangerous to Morphling. So you could maybe see him go for something like a Lincoln Sphere against Bane, which isn't necessarily ideal. Okay, FNG in trouble.
Breaker not going to fully connect on FNG. Limp gets the nice cookie, stun, and the regen rune, and Carl just getting kited around. Another kill goes the way of Alliance, as FNG taking some harassment, but looks like he will live through the day thanks to the support of the rest of his team.
Yeah, great rotation there. Bringing Hanskin was crucial to killing off the Lina. They're going to smoke here in full vision, though. So T1 definitely know that this is happening. Let's see if they guess the right move, though. FNG mana burning here. Zephyr's going to walk right into him.
Yeah, the fact that Zephyr is level 4 despite being involved in so many kills is kind of weird, actually. Feels like he should be a higher level right now, but
he hasn't taken much lane. That's what you trade off when you leave the off lane, right? So that you give the Magnus the solo experience, and while kills are nice, if you don't soak up any lane space, you don't progress, right? So I think now that Zephyr is showing mid, he might even sit here all the way until level 6, because Bane will need the tome in this game. So might just park him here.
Never refuse.
As you pointed out, top lane is also an option. You could just put the Dawnbreaker in the safe lane, put Wraith King into the jungle. But this way you might get... You're definitely going to get more gold on Wraith King if you let him take the lane and the big camp. But S4 making sure that is not the case here. Digging that up with a bounty, getting a bounty rune out of his good old shot.
The thrust from Whitemon, but a quick burrow strike. There's the stun from Zephyr, and S4 looks to be mega dead here. Actually does a nice job of sidestepping the Starbreaker, but it just delays the inevitable here.
Keep in mind, this is tanking with Vanguard against the Wraith King. He still dies, so... You can't really be tankier than this at this point of Sand with Soul Ring Vanguard, but it's just not enough against these 3 heroes. Alliance looking a little bit lost over here in the triangle, I gotta say. They've been standing here for quite a long time, and they're just on top of a ward, so essentially kind of wasting their time. They obviously don't know this, but T1 are just not gonna go there. And you understand what Alliance are thinking. You're playing against a lineup that has Magnus Wraith King. You're assuming there's gonna be big Ancient stacks, but T1 honestly haven't really paid much attention to that area just yet, so... I don't know if this is going to be something we see developing as like a new meta almost, where teams, because of the anticipation that the opposite team are going to invade your triangle, you just don't focus on it that much earlier unless you feel like you can clearly defend it, and you just don't
the next
stand.
level thinking, essentially.
Right,
Nightmare, LSA, here comes the Solar Guardian as well, but S4 able to get the burrow strike off in time to at least create a little bit of distance, but again, completely outnumbered with 4 members of T1 in the vicinity.
He is now 0-4. It was what Falk was talking about. This happens in a lot of games for offlane Sanking, especially if he's left alone. And now, finally, all right, FNG, I think, took the Tome of Knowledge, so he's going to make a move with Limp. They have Finger of Death. Could very easily burst anyone they find, except Wraith King, who can, of course, put a point in the ultimate. They will find Carl. That will be a very big pick.
Yeah, this will be a huge one. It looks like it's going to be an easy one on top of that. FNG gets his first Finger stack of the game. And now some pressure being applied to this Tier 1 mid in favor of Alliance.
Great move here. They do that in connection with the Siege Creep being alive mid, and FNG is going to tank this at least for a bit. Okay,
Zephyrs, Searing Chains with the Mortimer's Kisses. Look, oh, it's from super long range. Great anticipation as well. Alliance. Very Tier 1 as well.
Alliance, yeah, getting the mid tower out of that original smoke move onto the Lina. That's a very high value play. More or less equalizing the game with that, actually. They were starting to fall 2k gold behind, but found a lot out of that. And of course, let's keep in mind, Nico Baby is getting a lot of space as well. Opting to go for first item Skadi here. Interesting choice, obviously.
First item. Well, after Morton Mask, but that, that's, I don't know if I've ever seen that, actually.
It's not the most common build. A lot of the times you see Morph getting some sort of a build-up item, like sometimes you get Yasha, sometimes you get a full Manta, sometimes you see the Diffusal if it's a good game for that.
Super good Skadi game against Blade, Dawnbreaker, and the likes, as Bane's going to be taken out. FNG though, Savage. Yep. 3 shots from him.
I love Armlet on Wraith King. It is such a good item. Whether, like, whatever you go after, if it's the Silver Edge build or the Deso, or I guess in some edge cases Radiance, I really like the armlet first. You just hit such a strong peak already 10 minutes in with these two items. You saw him basically two-shotting Lion there.
Yeah.
With that massive crit. 270% critical strike damage on a 4-second cooldown is no joke.
That's the old CK skill too. They kind of swapped.
Yeah.
Poor CK. I guess people are more have an affinity towards Wraith King more than CK these days anyway.
Yeah. Well, what they did do for CK though, they increased the chance, right? I think at some point the critical strike was 11% chance. Now it's 33, and the numbers were obviously tweaked.
11? Are you sure about
I'm pretty
that?
sure it used to be that. It's a long time ago.
11?
We're both old.
I'm gonna say 18. Just
Okay, so
one
here's one of
person
the
in
perks
chat
of
that's
being
gonna
old.
check.
Okay, you have a lot of things you can remember. You also have a lot of things you can't remember, and a lot of things
Yeah.
you might misremember, which makes for great conversation. Because sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but at the very least, people are talking.
Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and you're always an idiot as well.
Yeah,
so.
that is true. That comes with getting older.
Indeed. All right, bottom lane, tier 1 tower getting
Tower is under attack.
harassed a bit here as Limping Company
This could be a strong
in the
flank
area.
for
Yeah, we're seeing the
T1.
flank now from T1. 23 Savage.
Someone's in trouble.
Handskin in the trees. If they can get Limp, that'll be the high priority target. Looks like it'll be Handskin instead. The rest of his team abandons him, but with good reason.
Alliance dipping there with 1 death is very good. Considering what angle T1 got there and how Alliance's heroes were positioned, that could have gone way worse if 23 Savage could have found a higher priority target.
The question is, does T1 actually want to push this? Because S4 looks to be mounting some sort of a defense. S4 not too far away from a Blink Dagger himself. This wave will almost ensure that he picks that up, in fact. And with that, likely to try to get something started. And of course, this is the beauty of Zephyr, like you talked about so many times. Or I should say, Dawnbreaker.
One time.
Well, we know we've talked
Actually,
about this
twice. I did
We've
talk
had
about
a
it
couple
twice.
games here.
See, that's one of the perks of being old. You can just make, you know, was
Where
it once
am
or
I?
twice? I don't know. You talked about it a lot, you know.
Anyway, to finish the thought that you rudely interrupted,
Sorry.
Solar Guardian just allows you to be everywhere. It's like a mini haunt.
Oh, not this
It's like a haunt on a support hero. You can push the lanes really easily and then join the fight whenever.
Yep.
And if you die, it's really not that big of a deal.
All right, so if you're confused about what he just said, the point he's making is it's a global ability, okay? That was the point of the haunt. It has nothing else in
Thank
common
you,
with that
Synderen.
ability.
I really appreciate
It is
that.
global.
Kuko, he's going to skewer as a fish.
Middle tower is under attack.
Be out as a result. S4 has the Burrow Strike to cancel the TP, and Hanskin and company should be able to clean up Bane pretty easily. It actually reminds me,
From their
Synderen,
mid-tower, though.
the extension was updated today with a bunch of new features, one of which was the most, community out, well, what am I trying to say? The one that people wanted the most, which is the top bar has the skills videos as well.
Very
So
nice.
if you don't understand a word that we're trying to actually explain in terms of the abilities, you can look for yourself. Makes our job a lot easier. Also takes over
eventually
our
in the
job to
future
some
we won't
degree.
need to say anything. It will just be, all of it will be in the tool.
That's right.
The tool
It'll
will just start communicating as well.
I
It
think
will,
we can
it will
get to that
cast
point.
for us.
Yeah, AI will take over one day. I think we agree on this. You could be the leader of that. S4 pushing out that bot lane. You can see the Searing Chains here. I don't think that Alliance wants to push. 2K net worth lead for T1 though,
Structures are fortified.
as looks like BKB just about to be finished on Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the go time for each respective team? Because we have the Blink Dagger on S4. We don't have the Blink quite yet on Kuku. He went for the Helm, which we've been seeing a lot in this tournament.
Like you said, the dagger is coming out to Magnus.
Okay, it's on its way.
He
Great.
does have the dagger.
But what's the go time?
T1's timing is really, really strong right now, actually. They got dagger, BKB, as well as the Deso on Wraith King, so there are a lot of potential plays opening up for them right now. I think looking for the bottom tier 1 tower and maybe even finding a fight would be great, and then you can think about Roshan, perhaps. Wraith King, pretty good hero at killing Rosh.
Yeah.
So, especially with this item build. Alliance, what do they have coming up? So Morph is going to get the Scotty.
Skewer back from Kuku.
Oh, he's the...
Continue your thought, please.
Yep, so Scotty coming up on Morph. Ember is going Kaya Sanj with brown boots. Not sure how good that's going to be in this game for Limp, but obviously he is very far behind the Lina, so perhaps you just need to get a little bit creative with which direction you're going. And those are pretty much the big items. F&G only 300 away from Blink, as a matter of fact, so maybe he can get that too. As 5 Lion, that's not a bad timing.
No.
Around 18 minutes, pretty good.
It looks like T1 will finally get this tier 1 bot. And
Nico, baby.
Oh, LSA is going to connect. There's a Fiend's Grip from afar as well. Laguna Blade finishes off Nico, baby. Hanskin trying to take out the tower, but it's very healthy.
For lack of a better word, that seemed a bit naive, almost. It's obvious from our perspective with the vision that we have, but you're pushing the top tier 1 tower with only Snapfire protecting you, not something like a Blink Sand King that can instantly interrupt spells like Grip there or counter the Lina. But also T1 weren't really showing that many heroes to inspire you with the confidence to go for that play, so I think Alliance bit over a little bit more than they could chew there. And yeah, what did T1 effectively use? Only really Fiend's Grip. Laguna Blade is a low cooldown. That's going to be ready again. They still have RP. I think if you're T1 and you find this double damage rune here, you're like, all right, let's just go Roche.
Yep.
Your team fight is available. So.
And we're going to have a smoke from Alliance. We'll see if they find a kill here. Sleight-of-Fist's going to dodge some spells from Carl.
Oh my
23
God.
Savage jumps in, and it's going to be a very quick kill on a Hanskin. In the meantime, Epicenter goes up, but there's the RP to counter it. And T1 taking 3 kills for themselves and taking basically no damage in this engagement.
Yeah, 23 Savage almost one-shot a Snapfire with Medallion.
Double damage as well.
They even find
Nightmare. Let's get off the attribute shift, though. It's wow. Yep, double damage still there for 23 Savage, and into the Roach Pit they go. T1 starting to run away with things.
Yeah, this is starting to get really ugly. They're just flat out outclassing Alliance right now. These last 5 minutes have not been pretty. They kind of equalized the early game Alliance did after having a tough lane mid, but haven't really been able to find much momentum from Limp on the Ember Spirit. And the games we've seen Ember win in this tournament have largely been off. You know, you get out of lane, either you do very well or you at least stay afloat, and then the team sets up moves for you. Your hero is very high tempo and can do a lot, but it just hasn't really been the case for Alliance here. So you see the smoke and broken rather. Boom, not broke. Okay,
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
they even find Limp bottom here in the picture-in-picture bottom right. Not sure if our observer found Limp, but
His dead body somewhere.
we can pinpoint the position of the corpse.
I mean,
in
he's
that bottom
specifically
lane.
having a pretty rough game. 8K net worth versus the 10.5 from Lina.
Hanskin. Good word placement. He will get some info and actually survive this, perhaps. It's going on quite the walk.
Yep,
Nice
LSA,
juke.
Carl, trying to find some more. TPs from Alliance are coming in, but the double burrow strike S4. BKB popped by Carl, though, and FNG is just going to go down to the right clicks. Nico, baby, trying to find some sort of collateral kill here. Whitemon's just going to nightmare him, and 23 Savage in the vicinity. Completely surrounded is Nico, baby. And 4 dead for Alliance, although technically Ember died quite a while before that. Hanskin, the last remaining member for now, attempting to TP. We'll be fine.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And T1 just dominating this game number 1 of this best of 3. And again, just if you're just joining us, this is an elimination series.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Yeah, crucial there, right? They go for the tower dive, S4 with a very good TP and Sandstorm double stun, but where's the follow-up? The other heroes just aren't in position. The way this starts is as a 10-second dive on Snapfire. They're taking so long to get in behind the tower and in position. You need more resources there. Like, if you want to take this fight, you need all the key heroes ready. You know you're behind in the game. You're not going to win fights 3v5. So either you bring the whole cavalry or you just drop it and lose a hero there. But Alliance tried to do a bit of both, and that's just not going to cut it at this level. And T1, they're doing a great job at administering their heroes, bringing them all around together, finding the team moves.
Top tower is under attack.
And I mean, it's easy to say what Alliance have to do. It's a lot harder to do it.
Yeah, as you can see, the win probability greatly in favor of T1 as expected after getting off to this really fast start.
Yep. Gabe Newell's favorite hero used to be Sand King, as we've talked about before.
That is true.
I think
That's
this
the
is why
6%.
he moved on from it, right?
Oh, okay. 23
okay.
Savage. Yep, easy kill for him again. All right, that is a big kill for Alliance onto Carl. That's exactly what they need here. Unfortunately for them, 23 Savage still applying pressure to the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, it's gone.
And it's just gonna go down. Aegis hasn't even been claimed yet. Oh wait, yeah, it has.
This item on Wraith King is so good. Brigand's Blade, the neutral, because your first hit does so much damage that you immediately get into the threshold where it starts mattering really quickly. Crazy good. Okay, trivia.
Huskar.
Trivia.
Huskar's the answer.
Trivia after this fight.
All right, we got. Oh, that's not much of a fight. FNG's dead. Nico Baby waveforming to safety. 23 Savage and company not going to pursue any further.
You sure?
Whitemon, okay, he gets a Fiend's grip off. This would be another big kill for T1. Nope, Starbreaker not able to connect. He's going to be able to remnant it away for now. S4 taking so much damage will just be brought down to the right clicks alone. Whitemon finally dies. Such a pesky Bane Elemental. And Alliance getting some trades here.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Alliance given the circumstances. You get a kill. Nico Baby gets 2 actually. He gets Cuckoo as well as Whitemon, so it's going to make some item progression here.
Yep.
Eyeing up a Linken's, this doesn't feel like a very strong build to me, just because like you're going to have these stats, but you don't have that massive combo play with, say, a Sand King when you go Ags, or some massive damage output from an E-Blade. So I'm just worried that the damage isn't going to be there when T1's heroes get a little bit bigger. That's going to be my main concern.
Is this one of those instances where when you're behind you want to take more risks to try to get back into the game, and going Linken's just feels too safe almost?
It's the thing, you know, I love to say this, you're playing not to lose rather than playing to win. And playing not to lose in this day and age in Dota rarely works in my experience. If you're behind, you need to go for the, let's just have 15% chance of winning with a play, right? If it's the best chance you have, you take it even though the odds are terrible. Because the alternative is even worse, which is you don't go for it and then you just lose by default. And that is something I think, you know, not that we're going to be talking a lot about public games or anything, but I think that's a mentality that people are not particularly good at adapting to in their public games, is that if you're far behind, hiding away is not a winning strategy, pretty much ever, unless the enemy team is going to throw in your base.
Which happens.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the level of play,
in
right?
pubs than in pro play, though, right? So
it depends on the level of play, of course, but yeah, sometimes you just got to take the risk even if the odds aren't good. Carl will be spotted up by S4. Well, who found who, actually?
Yeah, that's a good question. FNG jumps in. Comes a Solar Guardian, though. And just like that, T1 is here in numbers. FNG sacrificing himself to the gods here as S4 gets horn tossed and likely will be brought down next. So 2 quick kills for T1. And Alliance attempting to get out of dodge, but Hanskin gonna get spotted out. 23 Savage. Yeah, his arm length is apparently goes through Fog of War.
All right, here's my trivia. If you know this, what is something you would really want me to give you if you're right? I'm very confident you don't know this.
Okay, a Snickers.
A Snickers. Okay, if you're right, you'll get... All right, that's some free product placement right there.
True. I'll get you a noble.
What is the name of the passive of Brigand's Blade?
The passive?
Yeah, the effect that
there's no way. It's like something Mercy, I think.
It's called Dark Mercy. That was pretty bad.
I remember reading it. I couldn't remember the first word.
No idea. That's pretty good. You can get half a bar for that.
Right,
that's pretty impressive.
Are you going to eat the first one?
If that gets you all excited, I will do it. I will do that for you. I'm a good friend.
It is. So you say.
Oh, that's actually a Jenkins quote. Let's pretend I never said that.
True. So T1, yeah, this is shellacking for sure so far. Question is, what can Alliance do? They're going for that safe build on Nico Bay with the Lincoln Sphere. And really limp his build. It feels like, I mean, he has the BKB, which is really needed. The casual Sage with Maelstrom helps you farm, but
Nico is queuing up a Satanic next.
Really?
Again, it's I'm just worried about the damage, right? Like, Ember went Sanj into BKB.
Well, I think, no, he's still going Lincoln's, though, right? He has the ultimate orb.
He's queuing us his next quick buy, which usually when pro players do that, it's like, okay, the thought process is there, right? You're like, okay, this is the next thing I want. I think looking at Alliance's lineup, there's still a lot of value to an E-Blade, just because if you get a Blink Hex from Lion onto, say, Lina, you can actually burst someone instantly with all of the magic damage you have, but you're not really taking advantage of it. The downside to that kind of build is, well, where's your physical component in a lineup that's almost purely magical? So then that would be a problem. But this way you have neither, kind of, right? Yeah. Your Morphling can play to survive, but he's not really going to kill, I think. So worrying here for Alliance, but of course, if they do win one fight because Morph survives and turns it around, then maybe they can find...
Quick Hex, S4, no, not going to go for the Epi.
Yeah. Good damage onto 23 Savage, but one of the great boons to Wraith King is this lifesteal. So 2 hits on the wave heals a lot.
Nico Baby now with the Lincolns online. And yeah, a lot of, I mean, I guess not a lot. There's a decent amount of single target skills from T1 to take that off. But from Bane, it just takes so long to cast, right? Even in Feeble, it's a bit of a process, and especially against something like Morph. I can see the thought process for sure.
Radiant's bottom tower is
The
under
cast point of
attack.
Enfeeble is actually not that bad.
Did they? I guess they've changed that skill so much. over
Yeah,
the
I
course
think
of
it's
the
a
game.
while ago that got changed, but it's always been considered a good Linken's Breaker skill just because it's high cast range and it's such a, I don't want to say unimportant spell, but you know what I mean, right? You're not throwing away your Nightmare to break a Linken so you don't have it defensively. This is one of the best spells in the game, in my opinion, against Linken. So all Whitemon needs to do is have good positioning, break the Linkens with the Enfeeble, and then he can look for Fiend Script or Nightmare, whatever he wants to do on that morph. All right, Burrow Strike.
That's 4. 23 Savage.
They are poking him quite well here.
Nice armlet toggle for now. He has the Deso going for the AC next.
Very close.
He will live.
Good
Of
out.
course, he does have 2 lives, so it'll be difficult to take him out regardless.
All right, Sunsven trivia
Oh boy.
for the second half of your bar.
Okay.
What is the passive of Dragon Scale?
That I have no idea. Let's say armor.
You know, based on some of the naming conventions we've had recently, that's not a bad guess. It is called Afterburn.
Yeah, I would not. That sounds like a shaving product almost. As we have Alliance.
Do you want to advertise more things there? What's the plan?
Not ready to go out quite yet. Cinder and his Alliance trying to do something here against T1, but the longer they wait, the more the deficit becomes, it seems. And Limp will just be TPing out for now, but has a Remnant available to come back into the fight if he wants.
That is a tanky courier. 23 Savage will get his Elven Tunic.
Yeah, and
What
completed
is the
AC.
passive of Elven Tunic called?
I don't look at...
It doesn't have one. It was a
Okay.
trick question.
Well, technically it does
It
have
has
a passive.
3 passives,
Yeah.
but no name.
No names. Yeah. All right, understood.
Dewarding here,
Thank you.
23.
Oh my God! Holy jeez! Gaben, Lord Almighty,
Literal one-shot.
FNG. That hurt me.
You know, you're used to expecting this out of a PA in this stage of the game, but Wraith King essentially right now, that is the Wraith King version of one dagger and I'm died.
Yeah. I don't know,
Just
29 minutes
literal
PA?
one shot.
I don't expect that still. Maybe 39.
With Mag on the team and a Deso? I don't know. I think I would kind of expect that.
Okay, well.
You have different levels of expectancy. I guess the PAs in your game don't have the same items at minute 29.
That's right,
as these players
Cinder and
do.
S4 trying to mount some sort of a defense here, but this is with the
Dustball
Aegis
miss.
online for Carl. Obviously, Wraith King doesn't need one. Although we do see them take it relatively often, but I like to see it on the Lina this game. Considerable amount of damage done to that tier 3 top, and T1 going to reset.
Carl hits really hard with this Empower. I think in a way it's still underappreciated when we commentate Empower. We are always focused on the melee heroes that get cleaves, that can farm ancients, etc. But
Can't outrun
having
wildfire.
any hero that just attacks a lot inherently just gives Empower value, even if it's ranged, right? Lina has insane attack speed, so she's probably one of the best Empower heroes in the meta right now, actually better than some melee heroes. Oh my god, he
Oh
found
boy,
Lin.
the hack.
Look at the damage.
LSA's not going to hit though, Carl.
Oh!
One of the few mistakes from T1 this game. Pretty much a masterful performance thus far.
No.
But they won't sweat it, I'm sure, as this lead is...
The chat wheel game is on point. No mistake there. Playing the sad trombone is very appropriate there.
Yeah, oh, we got the horn toss with the skewer into the RP. S4 is going to be the first to fall in all likelihood. Nico Baby staying alive at half. We'll get up to safety. So just one kill with that RP, but Carl Pasta BKB gets the LSA with a buyback onto S4 now. Starbreaker connects. Here comes a Solar Guardian as well. Nico Baby very tanky right now with that Linken Sphere. Nice Burrow Strike at the center combination from S4. Zephyr trying to get to safety with that hammer, but it's not going to happen. So the 1-for-1 with the buyback. Carl and company. Looks like they're going to lose the Dawnbreak at the very least. S4 continuing to be a pest here with these Burrow Strikes. Gets 1 kill. Looks like Wraith King is next. That's after the reincarnation, so T1 have to back off.
That's a very
Nice
good
defense
hold
from Alliance.
Yeah, they only had to use the Sand King buyback and all of that. Arguably, maybe, you know, Carl getting a little bit overzealous trying to kill the morph. As we've talked about, it's a tanky morphling, and you don't necessarily have to kill Nico Baby in a position like that. You can safely, you know, go for other heroes that die a lot faster or try to push the tower, but got a little bit bloodthirsty. You can get carried away in these positions, and again, this RP is good, but great counterplay from Hanskin to get that double Earth Spike. Lina didn't pre-BKB for this, and that will save Nico Baby getting him out. And this is where the overcommitment happens, right? So you go for this, go very, very deep. Solar Guardian, I believe, got interrupted here by another good 2-hero stun from FNG. And now you're just in a really compromised position. Limp also doing tons of damage here.
Morphling tanky, but he's not really doing that much damage. It's not like he went the E-Blade build or anything like that, so you can just go for the other kills.
And now
first in
Nico
these
has the
fights.
item I like to see. He's got the axe, so now he can turn into Sand King, and that's big. This gives them a double barrel strike combination play. You need to be careful. He's taking so much damage from Carl.
He is, but looks like he's fine for now. His Limp creating a lot of space here with the Laguna Blade. S4 a little bit too far this time.
And he doesn't have buyback, and T1 obviously know this. They just bought back in the enemy base, so this does open up a potential push down mid play for them.
That actually is pretty big because Morphling can't turn into Sand King
Carl
now.
found Limp with a blink stun.
The Centaur stop not going to be there in time.
remnants.
Limp. BKB attempting the TP, but the RP cancel. Down he goes. Does have buyback though. Still a minute 20 left on the Aegis for T1. But best case scenario for Alliance, this is a 5 versus 4 once this buyback comes out. But like I said, Morphling can't turn into Sand King for another 40 seconds, so this Ag, like, Snapfire could be good later in the game. I don't even know. Do the talents even... Does that work through talents once you get the little shredder thing? As this Rax is going to be a complete freebie for T1.
So fast. Like, Lina is just an absolute artillery. That's not really the right word. Machine gun was what I was looking for. Going
A
straight in
trebuchet,
for the net.
Synderen, your favorite. Carl, Laguna Blade, down goes Snapfire. They're trying to preserve the buyback. Nope, not anymore. That's 2 right off the bat here. And you can see S4 will be back in 10 seconds, but it's going to be 2 full sets of racks for T1.
Yeah. And they might back off here and wait for the next RP. You don't have to risk any push here in order to finish the game. If you wait 50 seconds, you might feel like it's pretty much in the bag. Gaben giving Alliance 1% here.
Okay.
Very gracious.
I mean, to be fair, S4 in that original high ground defense did a really good
Gaben
job.
gives them 0. He's had enough.
Oh, boy.
You started talking about Sand King, and Gaben was like, I don't like this hero anymore, so there goes your last percent. Thanks,
Very
Sunsfang. You ruin everything you touch, don't you?
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Aegis is now
Kind of like Kyle with predictions.
Yeah, that's actually an uncanny skill that he has.
That's pretty impressive.
And T1 looking to finish this game, although no Aegis to work with now, and Alliance obviously know that, and this is going to be their best chance to win a fight. I look for Nico Baby to morph into S4 soon.
I bet Kyle, I challenge you, Kyle, to tweet right now, T1 has this in the bag.
Yeah.
Let's see how strong the curse is. If you do that and T1 end up losing, you will get a candy bar of your choice from me.
Of your choice? Wow. He might not have time to actually take out his
and
phone.
maybe quite exquisite and expensive candy bars out there if you know where to look. So that's a lot to gain here for Kyle, and no risk even.
That's true. Well, the risk is ruining his image of getting everything wrong.
That's true. That's actually pretty valuable to him, I think.
I think so too. I think he's really enjoying that.
Yeah, has to be fun.
T1 looks like they're ready to go and trying to finish this game. S4 wants to defend. We'll see how much they have in the tank here. Well, T1 going to be happy with the tier 3. We'll back and reset.
Roche can respawn in 2 minutes. If you want to, you can wait for this. I
can't blame them. I mean, this is TI.
High stakes.
TI 10, lower bracket. Another shout out. You can actually check the bracket right now. That's a new addition to the extension. If you go to the standings, it shows the full bracket. Very nicely done.
Okay, Sunsfan, I have a trivia for you.
Oh, boy.
What is the passive?
Enough with these passives!
Of Mindbreaker called. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
You like very simple names.
Silence.
That's the first word. What is the second word?
Is it silent something?
Yes.
Silent strike.
Silence strike. Okay, you get your full point. That's a really good guess.
Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful.
Definitely didn't look over my shoulder there and cheat the test.
I would never do that.
No, you actually didn't, did you? I trust you.
Why would I?
You have so much to gain from this.
No, I'd like to look like an idiot,
Your image.
actually.
Oh, that's true. You and Kyle should start a team.
Maybe we should start a new podcast together. Might be an opening pretty soon. Is 31K network lead for T1. And definitely playing a little bit disciplined.
Portos.
Yeah, Portos is there, and S4 is dead. 60 seconds on the deck.
That skewer range time is so absurd. Like, you're expecting that skewer to stop any second now, and it just keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, this feels like, I mean, you talk about Elder Titan. I feel like Magnus feels like the hero of the tournament right now, in a lot of ways.
He is doing very well.
Through a lot, as you see the overwhelming blink. Oh, man, we didn't even catch it on the camera. A lot of damage being done by T1, and it looks like the Fiend's Grip is there as GG's will come out for game 1. This was a shellacking, Synderen. Yeah, T1 up 1-0.
No need to sugarcoat it, really. That was just... That was not even close.
Okay.
That was just not even close. T1 basically... T1 came out of a stronger laning stage. Alliance had a couple of good moves in the first 10 minutes, but after that it was just all T1 all the way to the bank. And they secure themselves game number 1 with a 39k gold lead here. Alliance, I think adjustments for game number 2, you probably, if you're drafting like this and you give the enemy team Magnus and you give them like this strong team fight and a favorable mid matchup, you have to play around Limp more. Like this needs to go fast.